And good afternoon. Welcome to Kelowna Now Live. It's Jason Mann with Jim Check for your Thursday afternoon. And topping the news.
Where did our spaceship go, though, first of all?
The virtual set imploded. The dilithium crystals have not survived.
There you go. I like the spaceship.
Well, maybe it'll come back.
Maybe it'll come back. There you go.
Well,
Big news out of Kelowna.
Yeah, the city of Kelowna has informed GSL Group that it will be seeking a new operator for Prospera Place. Now, GSL has filled that role as the owner-operator since the 6,886-seat multipurpose arena opened in 1999.
That's right, and that contract is set to expire in 2029. Despite there being 5 years left on that deal, the city says it will begin a planning and investment strategy for the facility with a new partner to ensure a smooth transition. It's going to take a while to get a partner too, to manage a building of that scope. So the city is going to go to market, explore new opportunities and options for the arena, and will develop a capital improvement plan. I know that they've been saying they want some improvements in that building. The goal is to expand Prospera Place economic impact for the community and attract high-profile entertainment, major sporting events, meet the needs of the building's primary tenant. This is, I think, the big one, the Kelowna Rockets. I mean, they're a high-profile team, right? So that GSL will remain the operator until 2029. And then we did get a reaction from Graham Lee of the GSL Group. And he's saying, let's pump the brakes. Because they don't seem to want to give up on Prospera Place. They said in a statement they provided to Kelowna Now that they will... the City of Kelowna will soon be receiving a proposal on a new agreement for a shared long-term vision for Prospera Place. He said over the past few years, GSL has continually expressed interest in working with the city on a new agreement, and most recently in December, and that proposal will be delivered in the coming days. So there's a lot more on this story. You can go on KelownaNow.com and you can read it. I would say this story is unsettled, for sure. The city wants to get a new operator. Graham Lee says he wants to be the operator. And Graham Lee is also the owner of the Victoria Royals and the Save-On Center.
And the Capri Hotel here.
And the Capri Hotel and that building in behind Prospera Place. That I don't know the name of that building off the top of my head, but it's the tower just in the back, what would you say, the northeast corner of Prospera Place.
Well, there'll be some more developments in that story, I'm sure, then. A BC RCMP detachment is reminding people to prepare for the worst case scenario and to be extra cautious in the backcountry after responding to a fatal snowmobile accident and a separate rescue this week. Yeah,
so one snowmobiler is dead. The Golden Field RCMP responded to 2 backcountry SOS activations, but on Sunday around 5 p.m., Mounties received an emergency SOS activation in backcountry near Frigate Mountain in Donald. 6 snowmobiles were headed back to Hope Creek snowmobile staging area after a day of sledding when one of them left the trail down a steep embankment and hit some trees. Tragically, that 24-year-old man died on impact. His friend called for help, and the Golden Area District Search and Rescue Team responded to the remote area. The man was retrieved and transferred to the BC Coroner's Office. In a separate incident, that second emergency was from Emerald Peak and Yoho National Park. And this time, Banff Parks dispatched a team of Parks Canada mountain safety specialists were dispatched. After a failed helicopter rescue attempt, the team trekked the lost pair on land. 2 backcountry skiers, both 25-year-old men, found stranded on a cliff. One skier was rescued that night, while some search and rescue members set up camp with the second skier overnight to wait for a helicopter extraction next day. Good work by those guys, right?
Oh, they are something else, aren't they?
That's some cold work, and they do a great job.
Like, they put themselves right in the line to save people. It's amazing, really. Angels. Well, BC has announced 180 new treatment beds on the heels of a record-breaking year of drug deaths.
Probably likely not enough, but something nonetheless, right? So on the heels of that record-breaking toxic drug deaths, the province announced 180 new publicly funded treatment and recovery beds. On Wednesday, BC Coroner Service revealed that there were 2,511 deaths linked to illicit drugs in 2023, which brings the total of number of people who have died due to toxic drugs since 2016 to close to 14,000 people. That's the population of many a small town in British Columbia, or medium-sized towns, right? The province says nearly 100 of those beds are open in several communities, and the remaining beds are expected to launch this summer. Premier David Eby says the expansion nearly doubles the province's budget in 2023 commitment to open 100 publicly funded beds in BC. again, likely not enough, but at least a step in the right direction, right?
You know, if something came along that wiped out the town of Osoyoos for some reason in a weekend or something like that, we'd be up in arms. We'd be up in arms, right?
So,
economic stress is driving Liberal voters away from the party. The latest poll finds from Angus Reid.
Kent and I did a nice live stream this afternoon with. I'm going to get her name wrong here, Janae Herman. And Kent here listening is in our studio audience here. and we talked about debt. But the cost of living crisis has driven a large proportion of 2021 Liberal voters away from the party, a new survey suggests. According to Angus Reid's latest research, 43% of voters who backed the Liberals in the last federal election are now planning to support another party. The pollster said there are consistent elevated signs of economic stress that sent them searching for answers elsewhere. And that's what that MP from Newfoundland, the Liberal MP from Newfoundland, was stating just last night in a CBC interview.
And former Liberal MP Dan Matteague in that interview as well.
Right. But I mean, a current MP was saying it too.
No,
right?
for sure.
Asking for a leadership review. And then later on today, after a few phone calls, he's like, oh, I didn't mean that. So anyway, you can go on clonanow.com and you can read and look at all the fancy charts and everything. The Banks of Canada's decision to hold interest rates will likely be met with more angst, as some people are hoping for that downward trajectory as their mortgages renew. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, BC now has 11 staff members for every one young offender after custody numbers fall dramatically.
So that's weird, eh? You got 11 people for...
That's like more people taking care of criminals than there are taking care of kids in
young
class.
Offenders. Let's not call them criminals, but young offenders.
Okay, sure.
Right? But so what's the choices here? Get rid of some people looking after the people or put more kids in jail?
Yeah, no, it's got to do with the culture, really, though.
Oh, I think maybe like we're probably trying to do better things and how we deal with young offenders. But then maybe we should cut staff or at least reallocate staff to areas where needed, like in the opioid crisis or whatever. Maybe spend those budget dollars there. But that new report found the number of young offenders in BC has dramatically decreased, putting that ratio of staff to youth in custody at almost 11-1. That's a lot, right?
That's a lot of touch.
And Charles Worth says the report is not intended to recommend cuts to provincial spending on youth justice, but rather the creation of new guidelines to redistribute resources to avoid waste. I mean, that's, makes sense. I mean, how do you avoid that, right? When somebody says you got 11-1.
Yeah, well, if you looked under the hood, you'd probably figure it out, but...
Common sense. And here's one for you. Or maybe you can take Kent.
How about I bring you along?
He's working really hard. Bagpipes, haggis, whiskey. I don't even know what this is. I'm probably not that in tune. Who's Burns night? Like
Robbie Burns. Robbie Burns.
Explain it to me.
I don't know, to be honest. I think he was a poet. He was,
He was a poet?
265 years ago he was born, and we still celebrate Robbie Burns.
I guess I missed that day. There you go. January 25th marks the 265th anniversary of Robert Burns' birth. He was born the same year as Guinness, which is also celebrating 265 years in 2024. So if you want to go celebrate it, you can go to Denanzi's. You can have some pizza. They got good pizza.
And Hotel El Dorado.
Hotel El Dorado.
Offering some...
They got some good Scotch eggs. I don't know what that is. Haggis. I never tried it. Not going to. Welton Arms. There you go. Okanagan Spirits.
It's a big
Forbidden
deal.
Spirits.
It's a big deal.
Canadian Craft Spirits. All over the place.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
To Scotland?
I'm going home.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, after this.
A BC teacher suspended after exchanging texts with increasingly attached students. This is a bit of a story
this news headline too much as well. Another BC teacher suspended and transferred to a new school after causing emotional harm to students who'd become attached. The teacher did not take the steps to address the level of attachment the students had formed. The BC Commission for Teachers Regulations said in a report published this week, because the students were harmed, abused, and exploited by the teacher, no details that could identify them have been published. That includes the teacher's name, sex, and place of work. According to the commission, the teacher was employed as a counselor for vulnerable students at a school in the province where incidents occurred. The teacher spent a significant amount of time with the students, who grew increasingly attached to the teacher and saw the teacher almost daily. often on an informal basis when they otherwise should have been in classes, and including texting them at night. And then even asking some of the students to delete those texts.
Mm-hmm.
He was suspended for 9 days without pay. 9 days.
And the future of the Alberta Junior Hockey League has become a little bit clearer, at least for the time being.
Yeah, the AJHL games between the BCHL bound teams. So I guess 5 AJHL teams are going to be moving to the BCHL. And so they cancel those games between those teams until further notice. That's going to shorten the season for some of those teams. The teams leaving the AJHL are the Black Falls Bulldogs, the Brooks Bandits, Okotoks Oilers, Sherwood Park Crusaders, and the Spruce Grove Saints.
And they're becoming a part of the BCHL.
Correct.
Oh.
The AJHL was caught off guard by the announcement. So there you go. Well, wishing the best for those boys. As long as they get to play hockey, I guess.
How was that day today? We had a little bit of sun as promised.
It's, you know what? The one big thing you notice, it's still nice out there. It's beautiful out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the background there behind us? That's what we're looking at out the window. So
it's pretty beautiful.
It is spectacular. Day. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Until then, stay warm, stay safe, and have a good evening. Maybe have a good supper.
Sounds good.
Till then.